I had super dream package, which is not expected from anything other than, let's say, computer science and electronics and
You
engineering.
have won multiple awards in the past, one of them being Nasscom Design for India winner, and you're also Adobe's top talent awardee as well. I also think you take a lot of pride in being a slow thinker.
Thanks for recognizing slow thinking as a thing, because I think overthinking is how it has been labeled or marketed.
Coming from India, I think it's very hard to be okay with going for learning instead of like earning at such a mistake. I have a massive respect for that. I think a lot of people would be curious to know what kind of pay would Zeta offer.
So everybody who is now listening to this podcast, they would be like, who have you got on this?
A person with experience, I would say. Bharat, thanks for coming on this podcast to speak about design and all the other related stuff that we'll be speaking about. Just so I can give an introduction to the audience who you are, I would like to say that you're an UX designer from India. You've been working at Zeta here in Bangalore for the past 4 years. Prior to this, you worked at Mfine and Tally. You were also you have won multiple awards in the past, one of them being Nasscom Design for India winner, and you're also Adobe's top talent awardee as well. You studied industrial product design at NIT and interaction design at NID. I also think you take a lot of pride in being a slow thinker. But the way I see it is that you're one of those rare thinkers in the design community and like in the broader spectrum of the entire tech community that actually approaches problems, let's say, from first principles. You have like a strong community of 16,000 followers on LinkedIn and 25,000 followers on Instagram, where you speak about solving problems using design and like slow thinking. So I'm really grateful for you. This opportunity to speak to you today. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to this call. Is there anything else that you want to add to this
No.
bio of yours?
Thanks for having me and recognizing slow thinking as a thing, because I think overthinking is how it has been labeled or marketed, but I
Yeah.
want to then give a positive spin to it and call it slow thinking. So yeah, that works.
I I think it's very much needed in today's world, right? Because otherwise, everything seems to be so fast, 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 and everything seems to be such herd mentality. Like we don't take time to pause, think if it's actually needed, and think about it from first principles and approach problems or like just like daily life. So I think it's very important, and it's nice that you're doing this actively, like on social media.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Got it. And let's just like go back and rewind the thing a little. So you were into like joy of like creating things, like fixing toys and stuff. And I heard that you were also in game design and a lot, like you enjoyed that. How did you go from there to what you're doing right now? If you can just walk me through that history a little bit.
Yeah. So history is basically when I was a child. I used to play a lot of video games, and I used to break and make toys. So basically, break toys, take motors out of it, and then do all those rancho das, chamal das, chanchet kind of work, right?
Hmm.
And put things together. That seemed like a natural way to engineering for my
Hmm.
parents.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And although like I was also decent with computer science and mathematics, so everybody in my house thought that okay, engineering is the way
Engineer
forward.
banega.
Yeah. And I mean, don't I can't blame it, because from a town that I come from, we only know engineering and medical and maybe commerce a little bit, and if किसी से कुछ नहीं होता है then arts, right? So
Or commerce.
or commerce, yeah. So that was how the mindset was. But I actually, we used to get this English medium uh, newspaper, right? Indian Express. And in
Hmm.
Indian
Hmm.
Express, there used to be one magazine kind of a paper that used to have games as sections in it. So I used to look at it
Hmm.
and know that okay, there is Doom, and then there is Halo 3, and all of those things that exist in the world. And I used to fancy about it.
Counter Strike?
I don't think so. I think Counter Strike was not at least being published in
That
that
popular.
in
Hmm.
that
Hmm. Hmm.
newspaper, right? But I used to
Hmm.
read that newspaper a lot, and since I used to play games, I used to think that okay, how would I develop a character inside a game, right? Or how would
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
uh, create a new power for a character, and so on, right? I didn't know
Hmm.
those
Hmm.
things were called game mechanics. I didn't know those things are called character development, anything. I didn't know any of this, right? I used to just
Hmm.
draw shitty pictures and used to then
Hmm.
imagine random things. Okay,
Hmm.
if this character was in that game, and how would that game
Hmm.
play out, right? So over the time I thought I would want to then do this for money as well. right, which
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
build games. And I didn't know the complexity of games, I didn't know the market of games, but there was this one interest key somehow I wanted to land
Curiosity.
up here, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then I realized that so engineering coaching, all of that happened. And then
Hmm.
rank came out, and rank was not so much that I could get computer science, but just enough to get into a newer branch which was called industrial
Hmm.
design, right? So
Hmm. Hmm.
and my
Hmm.
aim with industrial design was maybe they will teach me some 3D things, and then I will get into
Hmm.
game design by learning those 3D things, right? But as I
Hmm.
went
Hmm.
into it, I realized that okay, it's more towards mechanical engineering. The industrial design
Hmm.
program was more towards
Hmm.
mechanical engineering than design. So that's
Hmm.
where
Hmm.
I looked at other things as well, right? Um,
Hmm.
so looked at graphic design, I looked at bunch of other industrial design, like proper industrial design. I was also exploring that, and that's when I stumbled upon UX design. And from there on,
When was this?
so I was in my second year when I
Second year. Hmm.
understood what exactly design was. So I did an internship at IIT Guwahati at that time. So
Hmm.
there the professor were
Hmm.
like, okay, you need to think beyond templates, right? And that was
Templates.
the
Hmm.
first the first knowledge of design that I got there. Ki you should not think
Hmm.
of building just templates and putting things into it. So it started from basically a critiques on my presentation, right? So and that opened a lot of opportunity for me to learn. So the professors basically helped me uh, you know expose a lot of design threads to follow,
Hmm.
right? So that
Hmm.
was one. And then I went to IIT Bombay for internship in third year, and that's where I got to know about interaction design and UX
Hmm.
design and
Hmm.
UI design and so on. And this was in 2015, right? So that's when I got to know
Was
about.
it around the time? Was it around the time that housing was like blowing up in
Yeah,
India
yeah,
for
yeah.
like its design things?
Yes, housing was
Got
blowing
it.
up.
Hmm.
Zomato
Hmm.
was a big deal that time. Flipkart
Hmm.
was becoming the Flipkart that we know today. So that was a
Hmm. Hmm.
that was a time when design was being discussed. Clear Trip and Make My Trip, all of those things were being
Hmm.
discussed within the design campus as well. And we were all like,
Hmm.
okay, what are these people doing? How can we get a job there and so on? That's what we were thinking at that time. And when I came
Hmm.
from IIT Bombay, that's when I started learning things on my own as well. There were not too much
Hmm.
guidance around, right? There were not too
Hmm.
many seniors who were pursuing UX design. There were no peers who were into UX and so on. There were no companies again coming to the campus for
Hmm.
UX, right? So a lot
Hmm.
of heavy lifting was done again in a corner of the world called Raurkela. So that's how a lot of self. Now I cannot use the word self-taught, but at that time I was definitely teaching myself from the internet.
I think that's a story of a lot of Indian kids, right? Even if you go to a engineering college, it's not like you'll learn coding through teachers. It's
Yeah,
by yourself mostly. The
yeah,
same, I think, stands for design college,
that's
or
true.
not design college. You basically were in a
Engineering
IT.
college.
I mean, B Tech college
Yeah, yeah,
itself
I
in your
was in
bachelor's,
engineering
right? So
college.
it's the same thing.
Yeah. So actually what happens is you get a mahol, right? Like people say ki kota
Hmm.
mahol
Hmm.
deta hai, and engineering college also has a mahol in it wherein your seniors would have done something and you would have followed their track. Now you might go
Track.
on and become, your senior might have gone till Adobe, you might have gone to Google, someone would, your
Hmm.
junior might go to Google
Hmm.
San Francisco, right? But
Hmm.
they leave a track for juniors to follow, right? When I
Hmm.
was
Hmm.
doing this UX, when I was exploring UX and design, there were not too many
Hmm.
peers and seniors who were, had laid the ground for me. So
Hmm.
that was
Hmm.
slightly tough. I think I'm very fortunate to people like Rama, Sapta, and a bunch of other folks who were at that time creating content around design, right? So
True.
that also helped us get an insight of what is cool in the industry, what industry people are looking at,
Industry.
right? So
Yeah.
I mean, very fortunate for those folks at that time who were the OG content creators of those times, right? So yeah, very
Still
grateful.
are.
They
I
still
mean,
are.
I still look up to all of them.
Yes.
I actually want to know how it is working with Rama right now. I mean, if I can call him Rama, I'm not used to calling him
Yeah, 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 sure.
Rama. It's Ramakrishna sir. So if I will get to that later, but I just wanted to know from you, like now this we spoke about bachelors, right? And you did product design in bachelors. this is a very different product design than like what we speak on Twitter, on like on the internet, right? And it's the older physical product design. Can you like let me know what like the differences between that kind of product designers and the current state of product design? And do you
Yeah,
get frustrated because I feel sometimes the older, okay, not older, the traditional product design people will get like frustrated when we just speak about digital product design. So can you like help me understand this?
yeah. I mean, see, yeah, the true term is digital product design and physical product design, but I think
Hmm.
we have mixed up a bunch of things in our system. So
Thanks. Yeah.
that's fine. I
Hmm.
think it's better to call it industrial design than product design
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
what I feel right now, because
Yeah.
a lot of ACO has gone into product design being digital product design right now. Now you cannot do much about it. So
True.
that's one thing. But so my experience was at NIT Rourkela. Again, it was more like a mechanical engineering kind of
Course.
a course. So
Hmm.
whatever I have learned about product design, I wouldn't say is the proper product design, right? So
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, see, for us it was like every semester we had a project, and we had
Hmm.
to look at it from manufacturing point of view, from materials point of view, and very
Hmm.
less around how are people going to use it. Like the user experience lens was very less
Hmm.
used right at that point of time, because we were
Hmm. Got
solving
that.
like an engineer, not like a designer, right?
Designer. Hmm.
We were
Hmm.
thinking of how do we test in ANSYS, how do we create the mock-up in CATIA, and
Hmm.
so on, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So that was our primary focus at that point of time, because we were learning skills of CATIA or ANSYS and
Hmm.
so on,
Hmm.
right? So that was how it was. But yeah, in design school you might be learning it in a different way. You start from
And
users, you
way.
start from business, and so on.
Hmm.
So I mean, that's the difference. Engineering school or a engineering college will teach you in an engineer way, wherein you start thinking from resources and
Hmm.
feasibility
Hmm.
point of view rather than business and users point of view.
Got it. I think you must know in and out of both the engineering college and the design college, right? Because I've heard you telling that like that yours was like a design oriented engineering school, but you also did a design school. Like your master's was in a design school, right?
Yeah,
So how was that experience?
yeah, the switch was I would say very different, right? Because
Hmm.
the relationship that you build in engineering college, you're not going to build elsewhere unless you work in a company for 4 years or more, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Because you're going to build those junior senior relationship over 4 years or 3 years, or whatever that
Serious, yeah.
time is. But in
Hmm.
masters, what happens is you get 2 years, right? And
Hmm. Hmm.
when you become comfortable in your first year, the other person is already ready to leave the college, right? So so that's a
Hmm.
different thing that I have seen, that or at least I'm not a super social person, so I didn't do a great job of socializing within the design college. But that's one thing that I've seen, which is the amount of time you spend with people is slightly lesser in the design college. So that's one thing. In terms of
Oh.
curriculum, uh,
Hmm.
at that time when I had applied for engineering, I had applied through AIEEE by giving an exam called AIEEE. I think right now it's called
Yeah.
IIT JEE mains, or I don't know, something like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I have
Yeah.
completely lost track of it. So everybody who is now listening to this podcast, they would be like, "Who, who have you got on this call?" Right? So that
A person with
AIEEE.
experience, I would say.
So AIEEE was this one exam you give, you get your rank, and based on that, your destiny is selected, right? In which
Yeah.
branch you will be going
College.
into.
Hmm.
However, in masters in NID, you have to first select the branch and apply for that branch, right? So
Hmm.
there is no,
That right, I think to that is the exam you have to give for masters, I
yeah,
guess, right?
but you don't apply to
Hmm.
NID. You apply to interaction design at NID or information design at
Oh, okay,
NID,
okay,
right? So
okay, okay,
that's
okay.
the
Hmm.
main difference, wherein there is a, so because you are applying for a master's degree, which means you are expected to know what field you have already chosen to get into, right?
Hmm.
It's not a
Hmm.
pure rank basis pay. We will arrange it in descending order of
Hmm. Hmm.
demand of subject, right? So
Hmm. Hmm.
That's one thing that I've seen. Another thing is in engineering, we have our modules run parallelly, right? So in one
Hmm.
semester, you will be learning 3 4 subjects parallelly and their practicals parallelly, right?
Hmm.
But in
Hmm.
design, at least at NID, we had it in modules. So there will be one subject taught
Okay.
at one point of time. No other subject would
Hmm.
interfere with it, right? So you would be taught one subject, you would do a presentation or a project at the end of it. Then you will be taught another
Hmm.
subject and so on. So it's like a sequential manner rather than a parallel manner.
Parallel manner.
Yeah. So
I've heard in design schools you usually don't have exams. Is that true? Like it's just assignments and like projects basically.
yeah, we didn't have exams at NID. We
Hmm.
hardly cared about what marks we got, and
That sounds like fun.
yeah, yeah, definitely, it sounds like fun. But
Uh,
in our jury, obviously, it's very different and difficult because
hmm.
exams, if you're somebody who is not a very public facing person, right, you could
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
bow down, write your exam and get lost, and nobody would know who you are, nobody would see your face and so on, right? In design college you will have to present your present basically your project to
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
entire class, and then there will be 3 people there to grill you down.
Hmm.
Right, and then you will be grilled in front of public with every project, and then you will
What have you even done?
yeah, then you would go into questioning yourself and
Hmm. Hmm.
comparing it with your peers, and
Hmm.
then you would leave, right? So yeah, there is no exam, but then you get a public jury that can be tough for some people who do not uh, who are not basically public facing, right?
Got it, got it. But I think that kind of makes you ready for the world because you kind of have to do that in the world, right? So I think in that way, design school is something that I kind of look forward to, but I don't know if I will take up because I'm self-taught, like in the design aspect of things. I studied in an engineering school, but I don't think I remember anything. Neither do I want to go back to that test
Okay.
or exam kind of stuff. So, but this sounds for not having exams. But and I see, I think I'm social enough to speak to a jury. But let's see, that's in the future maybe.
Yeah, yeah,
But after you were done with your masters, you worked at Tally also for a moment, right? So, and that is very very surprising because you don't think Tally of like a design company because everything is text based. How was that? Like, how
yeah.
did you think of that, and how was that experience?
So it was not after masters, but it was after my bachelor's is when I went to Tally.
Bachelor's. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I had a few offers with me, and Tally was
Hmm.
the least paying offer out of them. But then I wanted to come to Bangalore because I knew that this is where the scene is, and I
Hmm.
was actually not so much worried about money because for some reason, I don't know if it is overconfidence or confidence, but for some reason I
Hmm.
thought if some company is paying me uh, X amount of money and Tally is paying me X by
Hmm.
2 amount of money, then that means I know that there will be a day when X amount of money I can get whenever I want, right? So
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
I had that confidence that whatever the higher salary I got right now, I can get that
Hmm.
or more than that whenever I want. So at this
Hmm.
point,
Hmm.
I'm not looking at salary, but I'm looking at okay, let's get into the mecca of UX, which is Bangalore.
Hmm.
Let's
Hmm.
look for
Bangalore.
a good mentor who could, further my skills, right? So
Hmm.
I have been very interested in learning than earning for most of my career, and that's how I found a great mentor in Shamar Asal. She was the
Hmm.
lead UX designer at that time. She had experience at Adobe. She had experience from
Oh. Hmm.
Nokia, and she was also I think she's a grad from IIT Bombay. So I saw her
Okay.
profile. I then when I had a conversation with her, I could sense that see there are different types of mentor. Right? She was one of those
Hmm.
mentors who would really fight for her mentees for them to grow. Right? So I could
Hmm.
sense
Hmm.
that when we were having that conversation. So I took up that lowball offer from Tally in search of mentorship and in search of uh, getting into Bangalore, and that I'm pretty sure that paid off over time, because I feel
Hmm,
one of the reason I could have cracked NID was because I got enough time to prepare for it, and I got good
hmm, hmm,
academic level mentorship as well from my mentor. So I mean, when I left that money on the table, a bunch of people from college were like, "This is insane, right?" Uh,
hmm,
because at NIT we had this three different level of jobs. You have your normal jobs, you have your dream, and you have your super dream. They are based on some
hmm,
packages,
hmm.
right? I had super dream
Yeah,
package,
yeah.
which is not
Hmm,
expected from anything other than, let's say, computer science and electronics and engineering, right? So
hmm,
so
hmm,
because I
hmm.
had super dream, people were like, how can you leave this job and go for this mediocre whatever, right? So I think at that point of time, it didn't make too much sense. Even for my family, also, they were like, they were surprised. Ki, how can you leave money behind, right? But I think over the time, I was able to convince them that if I can get it today, I can get it tomorrow as well.
Tomorrow as well, if you can optimize it for learning right now.
Yeah.
But just to be clear, like if you're okay with speaking about this, what was the difference? Because in my college when I used to study, a super dream package was 60 lakhs, and like a normal lease would have been like 4 5 lakhs, and that's like what 10x 12x for difference. Was the difference that stark?
Yeah. So basically, that time Super Dream was above 9 was Super Dream, if I'm not wrong,
Hmm,
and then Dream was, I think, above, between 5 to 9 was, I think, Dream, and below that was, I think, normal. So
got it. This was 2015, right?
this was 2016. Yeah.
2016, 2015,
Yeah.
16. Okay, but still, I being coming from India, I think it's very hard to not be I mean to be okay with going for learning instead of like earning at such an early stage. So like I have a massive respect for that, because I think if more people do that, we'll have such more brilliant minds in like different fields and not just in like computer science maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Got it. But
I felt it was a bit overconfident also to leave that much money behind, but
you
uh,
need to be right. You need to be overconfident in your skills at that age to take these risks. Otherwise, if you're too if you there's this one quote from Casey Neistat where he tells the biggest risk in life is playing it safe.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
So so if you're too safe, and I think the Indian okay, I don't know who told this, but there like some people tell that like the successful people in life are either like the poorest of the people or the richest of people because they have nothing to lose.
Hmm.
If but the problem in India is everyone is a middle class. Everyone wants to be a middle class, and everyone wants to be like in that safe path. So we don't
Hmm.
take enough risks like in either way. So we kind of stagnate in the normal mediocre pathways.
Yeah.
So I think that's like what you did is like an inspiration for me and like many other folks right now, I think. But how I mean this tally thing, like how did you even get to know about this? Like back then I don't think social media was such a big thing. So how did you know about these design mentors and like how did you like reach out to them?
Yeah, so back then apparently LinkedIn had less cringe content, right?
Yeah, there was no feed, I think.
Yeah, no, it had feed, but the content was less. So I got a
Hmm,
lot
hmm,
of
hmm,
traction in
hmm.
LinkedIn. Apparently, a lot of how to crack LinkedIn and how to do XYZ in LinkedIn, what is being taught right now, was something
Hmm,
that I somehow managed to understood to do it back in 2013, which was you send connection request to people whom you want to connect to, which would be your HR,
hmm,
which would be your design
hmm,
leads, people who would
hmm,
hire designers and designers in general. So
hmm,
every day I used to sit, that was for about month. I used to randomly sit in
hmm.
lab. So basically it was some ansys lab or something wherein the work would get over in 45 minutes,
Ah.
and then and then you sit for another 2 hours because the professor has to come and give a signature, right? So
If
so
he comes.
yeah, so what I used to do was I was sitting there and sending connection request until LinkedIn blocks me for the day.
Oh, there was a limit.
Yeah, there was a limit. I think today also there is a limit, but that's how I grew my following to 12,000 within 1 month,
12,000. Got it. Got it.
right? And then I started posting my content as well, and I used to post honest design skill set, right? And
Hmm, hmm, hmm,
in my LinkedIn, there is a line, there is a status line or a bio line, I don't know what it is called, but the line that
hmm,
appears just below your name, right?
hmm,
uh,
hmm.
I had written that I'm looking for a job, right? UX designer looking for a job, and then I used to post about
Job.
UX. So it used to
Hmm.
get decent traction, and then people who are hiring would reach out to me, and that's how
Hmm.
I could, you know, attract companies who were hiring talent. And that's how
Hmm.
I got to know about Shama, because Shama reached out to me saying that we have an opening. Would you like to try out? And that's how I tried out. I didn't know Tally was a GU, sorry, a CUI, character user interface,
Hmm.
right? But when I
Hmm.
got into it, I understood why it is a character user interface, and I feel that looking back, uh, it was a very wise decision to do a character user interface at that point of time, because
I think I know where you're going with this now.
yeah, because it helped me develop a sense for typography, right?
The
because
typography, yes, I knew you
because
were
there
going
was
there.
nothing else to do, right? You just have to play with your
Hmm.
visual
Hmm.
hierarchy. So
Constraints.
yeah, so
Hmm. Hmm.
then I just fell in love with typography, and I was also a big fan of Future at that point of time. And
Hmm. Hmm.
Future by Chris too, right? So
Crystal,
they
yeah.
were also talking about typography, so I inclined got inclined towards typography. So it did help me. It's
Hmm.
not like it's a bad project in my portfolio, but rather it's a kind of project that nobody else will have it right now in their portfolio, right? Like, who will show
True,
you
true,
a
true.
ugly interface? I can show you ugly interface and tell you that, dude, this is the brilliance of that interface.
Ugly interface, but great typography.
Yeah, great.
That's a star.
Yeah,
That's the difference I feel.
yeah,
Got it. But that was, I mean, when I got to know about that, that was like so different from what I was thinking right now. Because right now, when I think, I feel like I should possibly work in a company which has like great design culture, great mentors. You did the opposite, and I think you got a lot of good understanding out of it. So what my learning from from this is that go to a place which has like great design leaders, if I can call them,
yeah,
and like try to learn from them, like have like a sort of apprenticeship or something like under them. That is
yeah,
a great way to learn, I would say. So that is something I learned. And you did this one, I mean, this was one of your professional work, and right after this is, I think the other one you did was at Mfine, right, which was like a totally different uh, playing field, I would say. So how was that? Like, I mean, how did you grow as a person when you were at Italian? How did you grow as a person when you were in like Mfine?
yeah. So at Tally, though, obviously I didn't know much about design. So everything that was
Hmm.
coming towards me was a new thing. Whether I was growing as an employee, or I was growing as an individual, or I was
Hmm.
growing as a Bangalorean, whatever,
Hmm.
right? I was growing in all direction, because everything was new to me and
Right.
I was absorbing everything, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
when Mfine happened, by that time I had done my masters, and a bunch of things were very less flexible for me, because
Hmm.
I had also figured out, okay, this is the kind of person that I am, and I'm not going to be super flexible in, adjusting to a bunch of things. So
Hmm.
when I went to Mfine, I think it was a very basically, when they hired me, when they did the interview,
Hmm.
they were a very small team. By the time I joined, they were
Hmm.
slightly bigger than that. I think there were some 30 members team, and then when I joined, there were some 90 members team. So it was
Hmm.
a culture that was in process of getting built, right? So I
Built.
joined for 6 months. So I was in the middle of that switch from 30 member team mindset to a 90 member team mindset, right? So,
Mindset. Hmm. Hmm.
and I also had a bunch of personal life problem going on at that point of time, so I was not super
Hmm.
focused on my career at that time as well.
Hmm.
So the learning experience, one thing that I learned was anyone can write a PRD. So so my first
Ouch.
the first PRD that I basically worked on was basically written by a doctor, right? So it was,
Doctor.
yeah, it was the doctors. So
Hmm.
Mfine has a bunch of doctors and the product team. There was a doctor
Hmm.
who wanted to get into the product team, right? He was consulting the
Hmm.
product
Hmm.
team initially, and he then got into writing the PRD. Obviously, he wrote it actually well. I mean, to
Hmm.
his
Hmm.
credit, he understood the subject very well, and then he wrote it,
Hmm.
and it helped me a lot as a designer as to how it was done. And
Hmm.
working with doctors, getting to know the industry from within, uh, you
Hmm.
know. and I was working on vaccination just before COVID. So I was all yeah when COVID happened. I was like, अब vaccination के बारे में सबको पता चलेगा. Right. So that was there, but it was fun. It was different. It was a very product driven culture, right? So
Culture.
I could look at how the requirements were coming from the top. Like for example, this
Hmm.
quarter we want to hit this business metrics, and
Metric.
then a PM would take that metric and say, okay, I will do 3 projects like this, and my
Hmm.
hypothesis is
Hmm.
these 3 projects are going to make
Hmm.
us hit that metrics, and then one of the project would be then assigned to me. Then I could see that okay, this is how the things are trickling down to us, and then this is
Hmm.
how we are going to build our hypothesis, or uh,
Hmm.
build our feature and then test it out. So
Hmm.
that way it was very refreshing for me to see that okay, this is how the ins and outs of a decision across the product, across the hierarchy happens. So that way
Hmm.
it exposed me to all of those things. But I think
Hmm.
I felt that I could have done better in my professional life at that point of time. But just because my personal life was slightly in chaotic situation, so I didn't do a great job there. But what I was looking for next was a place where it is slightly, the design team is slightly more matured, right? Or at least the processes are in place. Uh,
Yes. Hmm. Hmm.
because this was a more of a transitional company, or a
Period.
transitional
Hmm. Hmm.
design culture. While at
Hmm.
Zeta it was already established that this has a good culture.
Established.
So that's how I applied for Zeta. There were a few other companies also I applied to, but I chose
Hmm.
to live with Zeta.
Go with Zeta.
Yeah.
Got it. I mean, if not to get into specifics, but what would you say to a person who right now is going through a hard time, but he has to also like deliver results at his professional life? Like, if you can give an advice to yourself back in Mfine, what do you think you could have done better to like meet? I mean, how would you deal with that situation now, like in retrospect?
I don't think I did anything wrong by deprioritizing work over personal life.
No, 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 not
Yeah.
like prioritizing work over this thing. Like how to navigate those kind of situations. Like you're there in an internship. I think the expectation for you is to be like to deliver the best of your capabilities.
Yeah.
But what was your mindset like? How do you tell yourself like back then like it was okay to like take it slow right now? Because I think that a lot of people struggle with that, right? And that's
Yeah.
why a lot of this mental health issues are there right now. So
Yeah.
what would you advise to a person who's there in that situation
Yeah.
right now?
So for me, I was like, my entire project is 6 months project, right? And
Hmm,
even if
hmm,
I show this project in my portfolio, it will be a 10 minute of presentation. So
hmm,
I don't need to do all the wow work at this point of
hmm,
time. I can deprioritize it, because over 6 months I will get enough insights, enough presentation worthy insight to talk about for 10 minutes, right? So
hmm,
in that sense I was like, I can take it slow. And
hmm.
if the company has, if the company says that no, this is not what is expected of you, then I'll probably ramp up my pace. But I was waiting
Hmm.
whether Mfine will come back and tell me ki, no, no, something more is expected out of you. They never came back. I
Hmm.
thought, okay, let me then keep on prioritizing my own personal life over work to me.
Hmm.
So that's how I was. And I think uh, I mean, I have seen how interns, uh, I mean, how much of an impact interns have over product, right? So it's
Hmm.
more like how much you want to impact, you can impact, right? And if
Hmm.
you don't, show up too much, also, they are not going to, come back to you and say that we expected a lot out of you. So
Hmm.
I feel that was something that I understood while I was doing the internship, which is I'm just a part of the bigger picture, and probably the smallest part of a bigger picture. So even if you remove
Hmm.
me out of the picture, the company is going to just do I'm fine,
Do
right?
fine.
Right.
Hmm. Okay, didn't see that fun coming over there. Good
So
one.
yeah,
That's actually nice. But see, you're also now a senior designer with a lot of experience. You must have like had interns. I mean, some 100 interns by now. What? stood out for you in like that one best intern that you have like worked with, one or two best interns? Like what characteristics of that particular intern that stands out for you? Like what do you look for in an intern? Basically, is my question.
Yeah. Uh, I think mostly you look at coachability first, right? So one thing is
Coachability.
they should know their craft, but beyond
Hmm.
that, are they coachable or are they super stubborn where they, think that whatever they know, whatever framework that they have learned, uh,
This is the best.
that's the holy grail that cannot be changed. But
Hmm.
the thing is, what we see today in market is a lot of people going the entire opposite direction. Like, it's good to be flexible to take in feedback, but it is also important to have your own say and have your own test and have your own stand as a designer
Hmm.
as well, right? So
Hmm.
that is slightly missing from interns today. But in general, we look
Hmm.
at coachability and a general understanding of the craft of UX, right? We don't expect too
Hmm.
much, learning of how would they be able to question PMs, how would they be able to uncover facts from PMs, or how would they collaborate with
Hmm.
PMs, or how would they collaborate with developers. We don't expect too much from them. We expect them to do the craft and
Hmm.
then become coachable. Another thing is, sometimes interns, see, we are not doing social service by hiring interns, right? We have a particular task in mind which we want to do it in a cheap way, right?
Cheap
that
way,
that's
yeah.
the that's the
Undoubtedly
that's the truth of industry, right?
industry,
No,
yeah.
otherwise why would we even hire interns?
Higher
Another
interns.
reason for hiring interns could be we are not sure whether they're going to be right fit for
Fit.
full time, so
Hmm.
we'll first
Hmm.
test them out and then and offer them. But then that's why we have probation. But whatever.
Hmm.
So a lot of team have uh, higher interns because they want to solve a specific project, right? And if
Hmm.
they grow in that role very well, then maybe convert it and offer them full time,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
uh, I mean, uh, that's what I seek when I'm looking at interns, right? Which is, are they coachable? How are they growing in that particular project? Are they giving 110% or 80%, 90%? How is that, right? And also, how in general are they syncing with the design team? Are they fitting the culture and so on? So that's something that we observe when they are working, but when we are
Hmm.
evaluating them, it's more like craft and coachability.
Got it. And if I can speak from like a dating culture perspective, what's like a red flag in an intern? Like what should an intern or like even a junior designer should not have? Like one thing you told me now is like you should ideally have some kind of an opinion, but you should be moldable enough to,
Yeah,
I mean, be open enough to have new opens in your thoughts, right? So
yeah,
what's like other apart from that, maybe something that you think some people should not. I mean, some people should work on themselves. Like, what are those traits right now that you
yeah.
see?
I think almost everything about this chat GPT can also answer. But I'll tell you some of
Hmm.
the nuances of it. So one of the nuances, uh, and this is something that one cannot prepare for it, which is
Hmm.
you don't know what we are hiring for, right? So if I am hiring for somebody
Hmm.
who has a illustration skill set and a decent UX skill set, you don't know that I'm looking for illustration skill set, right? So it cannot be like you apply for a job where that skill set
Hmm.
you can show. So uh, it's not a red flag, but it's not a red flag in them, but it's for the position whether you fit or don't fit, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
the red flag basically is a fit for that particular short term project, right? Because we always think of interns like a short term hire, right? So we
Hmm.
would look at the
Hmm.
immediate project and would say ki whether the current skill set that they have, does it
Hmm.
match our need right now or not. Sometimes
Hmm.
maybe they are a good candidate, but the right set of skill set is not there for that current project. Maybe they are a long term player for us, but we want the short term player at this point, right? So
Hmm.
those are few things, nothing that you can do about it right? It's just that you may not
True.
fit and
You may
it's
not
not
succeed.
exactly a red flag, but it's just that something you will get rejected, and the fault is probably not yours, right? So that's one thing. And
Hmm,
obviously,
hmm,
uh, uh, the general red flag is when you are not listening to anybody, when you are like, okay, I have seen in that company this is how it works, or I have read in that process this is how it works.
hmm,
When you're not ready to
hmm,
listen
hmm,
also is another big red flag in general, for
hmm,
not just interns but for L1 L2 also. If you're not,
hmm, hmm,
if you give rational, if you defend, that's fine. If you have your
hmm,
rational and then we are weighing our rationals, then that's fine. However, if you
hmm.
don't have any rational but your answer is I saw it there, I read it there, so it should be like this, and so on, is when that becomes a red flag for us.
Got it, got it. And do you think right now a lot of freshers or interns at an intern level or like L1, L2 level, we always go after like that wow factor. But I've heard you tell that like wow is not something that is not always necessary. So how do you think like if like a person at an L1, L2 or an internship level should try to stand out like nowadays?
Yeah, I think wow factor, you can obviously aim for it, but the thing is, wow is not just visual delight or not just fancy animation. It could be something that
Hmm,
you thought through so well that you are proud of
hmm,
presenting it to somebody, right? You would say, I thought through XYZ situation, and if this situation happens, and I thought about it to handle it this way,
hmm,
this situation
hmm.
happens, then handle it this way, right? So that is also wow, which a lot of people don't understand,
Good one.
which wherein most of the time wow is a visual wow, right? You do a
Hmm, hmm, hmm,
big animation, you do a big sound
hmm,
design or something like that.
hmm,
So
hmm.
and nothing wrong with pursuing that, by the way. I think a lot of people get attracted to UX because they feel
The other one is also true.
that is also true.
True.
They're attracted to UX because they think that every day they will be doing all this wow kind of animation, right? uh,
Hmm, hmm.
like a tin
Dribble worthy
dribble
stuff.
worthy stuff, but that's not what the industry is right now. But I would
Hmm.
always suggest that definitely uh, look for wow in different ways. Yeah, your wow could be a good copy, your wow could be
Copy.
uh,
Hmm, hmm.
your wow could be a good annotation of the file itself, right? So
Oh,
your wow could be many things. It's just things that usually people miss out on. It could be your thinking, it could be how you present, it could be uh, I don't know, anything, right? And if you talk about how
got
people
it.
stand out, the simple answer is you have to follow your innate curiosity, right? I mean, that's
Hmm.
how you would, you know, you would take a path that not everybody takes. Of course,
Takes.
you can go to your cohorts and you create that
Hmm,
base,
hmm,
right? You build
hmm,
that base
hmm.
knowledge, which everybody basically gets that base knowledge as well. But on top of that, it will be your innate curiosity that would take you in a direction. For example, for me, I used to be a dancer and I used to spend time in making films, right? So then that certain things about being on stage, I could understand that this is going to be a wow factor, right? When I'm doing graphic design, right? Because I
Hmm,
know
hmm.
that, okay, this is something that people cheer for, right?
Cheerful. Hmm, hmm, hmm,
Like
hmm,
one of
hmm.
the simple example is in a dance form called lyrical dance form, wherein you basically enact the lyrics of the dance. It's not a big
Hmm,
wow move, it's not like I'm doing a backflip or something, but it is
hmm, hmm.
uh, something like I was telling one day that like tera hone laga hu, right? You tera ko you show, rather than a pointed finger tera hone laga, you do 1 3 tera, right? So what it does is people solve that puzzle, right?
Hmm.
So that is their delight. That's why they would, clap for you, because they feel intelligent when they solve tera is 1 3 13,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
I think that's like the Pixar technique because even Pixar movies make you like the storytelling
yeah,
technique over there is they make you feel like nice, like they feel make
yeah,
you feel like you worked it and you got the answer.
yeah,
So yeah, that's a brilliant
yeah. So it's not
point.
4, it's 2 plus 2 that you give to the user, right?
User, yes,
So
exactly, exactly.
then you take that theory, that first principle fundamentals, you apply it to
Hmm,
design. Not, you would
hmm,
say 99% of people would not think about it in that way, right? But I would think
hmm,
about it
hmm.
that way because I would connect dance to design, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you don't mind, can I link the dance video that is there on YouTube of yours?
No,
That was actually a pretty good dance. I actually couldn't recognize you in that video, but it was actually a pretty brilliant dance.
I don't know what dance video you're talking about. I There might be some
I'm
videos.
pretty sure that is you. So let me. I'll send it to you like across after this call,
Okay,
and if you're okay with it, I will link it to link to that in the description of this
okay,
call.
okay,
If you
sure.
don't have any problems.
I do have a
Cool, but
dance
that's
video.
actually a brilliant point.
I do have a dance video from NID times
Hmm.
on my Instagram. So yeah, that's also is there.
There's one on YouTube as well. I don't know if it's
Okay,
100% you or not
okay.
because it looked a little different. But what did you learn from like dance to whatever you're doing now?
Oh,
Like
oh, the
what
funny part
things have you
is,
taken from that?
I also did a course in dance at NID as well. So,
Oh,
so we
nice.
had
What did you learn from there?
open elective, and
Hmm,
we had a we had a course called design and dance principles, or dance and design principles, somewhat like that.
hmm,
And
hmm.
we had a belly dance teacher who would teach us belly dance. Right?
Wait, so are you a trained
No,
belly dancer
so
there?
definitely she was training me. I didn't learn anything that's different.
That
Yeah,
sounds like my engineering days.
yeah. But I did enjoy it. It's not fully like you. It's like you learn some design in it, but basically there is a
Hmm,
bunch of correlation between dance and design, especially in the aesthetics part, right? So
hmm, hmm,
we
hmm,
basically, the person who was teaching,
hmm,
she does a form called fused belly dancing format, wherein she fuses a bit of popping and belly dance into
hmm,
it. So, and
hmm,
I was into popping, so I could
hmm.
connect the popping side of things and leave behind the belly dance side of things.
Yeah. No,
So
now I'm sure that video of yours was you itself because that was a popping style of video,
okay,
dance itself.
okay. So that's how, I mean, I could connect a bunch of dots between dance
Hmm,
and design. And yeah, it was fun. So it's, so that's what I was
hmm.
saying. To stand out, you need to see what is your intrinsic curiosity, right? And then probably follow it, and you would land somewhere, and then you would be able to be slightly different than other people. Like for example, being
Other
a
people.
content creator and a designer, you would be able to present things in a very different way than how other people would present, right? You know what a hook is,
True, true,
you
true.
know what a
Yeah.
payoff is, right? So the way you would present is going to be completely different. You have seen enough Mr.
Yeah,
Beast
true.
videos, and you have broken down enough Mr. Beast videos to do a presentation of a boring subject like design system in a way wherein
Hmm,
people
hmm.
are hooked to, okay, how is this magic happening,
The end.
right? So
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
that's
True,
how
that is absolutely
we
true.
stand out.
Got it. And now you're working at Zeta, right? Like, how has that experience been? Like, you've been there for 3 to 4 years, which is usually not the case. Like in the startup space, people usually
Yeah,
jump ships like every 2 3 years.
yeah,
How has that experience been for you?
yeah,
I've heard like super good things about you, like how all your work is so detailed and like you help a lot, like a lot of folks while like doing your own stuff and stuff. Like, how's the entire experience been?
yeah. So Zeta, I think when I leave Zeta, I'll call that a graduation day. Right? So
Why?
Zeta is a school and a family, right? So especially at one point of time, it was a very close knit community of designers. Like in their
Hmm,
farewells, people used to cry. Whoever was leaving, they used to cry that they're leaving the company because of so and so reason, right? So it was that connected. It was a very people
hmm.
centric culture at one point of time.
Company. Hmm,
Yeah,
hmm,
especially the design team, not the entire company. I don't know, I can't talk about other units, but especially the design team was closely knit. And
hmm,
a lot of credit goes to the person we have talked about before, Rama, right? So
hmm,
that
hmm,
culture, building in that culture, uh, has been built basically on his back. So
hmm,
a lot of credit goes to him. But yeah, I think one of the thing is, like I was saying, I'm not a very social person, right? So if you give me a space, a chair, a table, and a lamp, then I'll sit there and then I
Hmm.
leave, right? Get up and leave.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
Zeta being Zeta, and encompassing everybody into their
Hmm.
community, right? So they handled me very well, wherein I used to sit silently, but then people will come and talk, and they will crack jokes, and then we'll go for tea, then we'll go for lunch, and then a bunch of other things will happen, right? So that's how I
Hmm.
opened up. And it's very difficult for me to open up in general. As fast as I opened up at Zeta, I have never opened up at anything, right? So
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
was
Hmm. Hmm.
very warm and welcoming for me initially, and
Hmm.
then the growth has been very fantastic, right? So again, they
Also, you told a nice way that people annoy you in the office, but that helped you.
oh no, so the pressure of work was not there too much initial days mein, right? So it was in the pandemic when the pressure was slightly high, but in the initial
Hmm.
days we had not too much work. At least for me there was not too much work, right?
Was that in person when in the initial when you tell initial days? Was that in
Yeah,
person?
it
Because what I'm
was.
trying to understand is like did it become more difficult when you were when it was remote? Because I feel like work becomes a little more enjoyable when you're like having people around you and like doing
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
together.
No,
Is
I
that what
think
you're trying to
it's
tell?
not just about being around people that is enjoyable. Actually, I my energy gets drained if I'm around people, right? So so it's not really like that. However,
Hmm.
the first 3 months I joined Zeta early Jan 2020. Pandemic happened
Oh,
March.
right before
Yeah,
yeah.
March 2020. But within that 3 months I
Hmm.
got very familiar with the culture of Zeta, and uh, basically broke ice with a lot of people, and then made friends and so on. So
Hmm.
uh, that first 3 months was very chill, and as pandemic hit, we started figuring out bunch of ways to keep ourselves engaged with each other, right? Like we used to have we used to play games, we used to do collaborative sessions. Every Wednesday we had a session wherein one of the
Hmm.
designer would take a session, and there will be some activity
Hmm.
and so on. Every Monday
Hmm.
also a smaller team we used to meet and take sessions. Every Friday again some
Hmm.
fun games and stuff we used to do and all. So there was always that engagement, that community factor that we were doing in the pandemics. So
Hmm.
one thing that I definitely learned was, first of all, talk. Right? I was not definitely good at talking. Definitely improved because of giving presentations and teaching people and all of that. And then also learned how important people skills are. So it's not just talking to people as a people skill, but uh, managing people's expectation, right? That is also
Hmm.
something that I learned, probably
Hmm.
from the best, who is Rama at people's management, right? Like I have not seen a better people's manager than Rama. So
Oh.
that was something there.
What do you think makes him so different? Like, what do you think that stands out like in him from like others? If anybody else can learn from him, what should it be?
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody can be as open as Rama. So actually, in the pandemic he shifted to our house, so we were all flatmates at one point of time,
Oh,
right? And we were some five Zeta designers staying in a 6 bhk apartment. And it was
that sounds a lot of fun and a lot of stress
it was
also.
a lot of
It
fun, lot
might
of
have been
stress. My living with manager is something
exactly.
something that you may or may not like. Actually, by the time Rama came in, he was not my manager. uh, uh,
Hmm.
Basically I had moved to Kshitij. I
Hmm.
was working under Kshitij by that time, so I was not directly reporting to Rama. However,
Who's Shitich?
Kshitij is one of the OGs again from Zeta, right? So
Okay. Hmm.
he's a
Hmm.
manager at design manager at Zeta.
Is it?
So
Okay.
I had a lot of learning from both Rama. So Rama, from
Hmm.
people's point of view, I just observed and learned that, okay, this is how you open up to people. This is how you gain trust, and this is how you live up to uh, what you said in the beginning of hiring people, right? So I learned a bunch of things from him, and he's also very
Hmm.
uh, fierce in the in that table where everyone wants to take a seat at, right? Wherein he
Hmm.
used to fight for his subordinates to basically
Hmm.
get the best results for them,
Hmm.
right? So that's
Hmm.
also something
Hmm.
that was very useful that I basically watched and learned. Then
Hmm.
I had a reign with Chitij, wherein he he gives very straight feedback, and I love straight feedbacks, right? So a lot of learning happened there, especially skill wise. He
Hmm.
basically helped me think better, right? So a lot of my
Hmm.
thinking got shaped there because he used to,
Slow thinking.
yeah, he used to help me think from first principles, think in
Hmm.
second degree, second order thinking styles,
Hmm.
and so on. So
Hmm.
pandemic 2 years was the most growth that I could sense within me, right?
Oh, nice.
Because
Hmm.
of a bunch of projects where there we were tackling pandemic, but then uh,
Hmm.
a bunch of new opportunities, new problems, new challenges were there. So
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
how it was. And then after that again, basically uh, all my experience has been in working on uh, consumer grade products, right? So it's not
B2C.
B2B
Hmm.
products, but mostly B2B2C products.
B2C.
So
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
skill got honed. Then both the skills of working on a scaled product and a 0 to 1 product, both those skill got honed. So yeah, I mean, all of this skill set, I feel it's like a school to me. That's why I feel my farewell will be a graduation day.
Graduation. That
Yeah.
is if you leave. That is also there.
Yeah.
But if you have to bitch about like your marriages, how do you do it? If you're staying with your own like managers and stuff, isn't it hard? Like you don't have like other life is
No, I
what does
think
you?
bitching is something that even my manager does about his manager, right? So he also expects us to bitch. In fact, it's very evolutionary that when you bitch about something,
Hmm.
somebody, people become
Hmm.
better friends, right? Whoever you bitch with. It's not a hell.
That is possibly when you're drunk, I think.
Yeah, even I think that's how drunk parties also help people,
Bond.
become better friends. So
Hmm.
no, it was a big house, so there are different corners to the house, so you can
Hmm.
go
Hmm.
to some place and bitch. And I'm pretty sure it's not like managers don't know that subordinates bitch about them. Maybe they don't know what they bitch about, but th- they should expect that people bitch about them. There is one person whom, by the way, I have never bitched about. In fact, I usually introduce him to my friends in a way wherein I say, "This is the only manager jinke peet piche I do tarif." Right? so it's the anti bitching that I
Who's
do about
that?
him. It is Shitij, right? So
Oh,
so yeah,
he's like your not Duryodhana, who's that in Mahabharata? The teacher to Arjuna.
uh, Dronacharya.
I should possibly Dronacharya. Yes,
Yeah.
so he's like your Dronacharya in that
Yeah,
case.
yeah, definitely. I mean, he helped me a lot in
Hmm.
that part of time. Yeah.
Got it, got it. I mean, I watch the show every day and I still forgot the name. That was like a bad moment. But anyway, apart from like the learning experience and stuff, I think a lot of people will be curious to know what kind of pay would Zeta offer. If you're like open to sharing that, that would be nice.
Yeah.
Like at different levels, and like maybe if you can talk about like how interns get paid, that is nice because I think a lot of people look into that as well.
Yeah. So uh, at Zeta we did two surveys, right? Salary surveys, both
As well.
both carried by headed by Rama, and
Ramasingam.
we some of us were contributing to it
Hmm.
in terms of visualizing the data. And what
Hmm.
we saw was 2021 May, I think we did one. 2022 May we did another,
Into you.
and the numbers are true in industry, right? It's not
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
how a lot of people said that no, this is not realistic. It is realistic.
Realistic.
However, in 2023 I cannot say that 2020 survey stands good, or 21 survey stands good, or 22 survey stands
Is there
good.
one coming?
I
Is
don't
there
know.
a
I think
2023 report
whenever
coming?
Rama does it, it will come. But we have not actively taken up the work. Uh, but
Hmm,
what I've
hmm,
seen is obviously the market has changed and the numbers
Hmm.
may not be the same. I would rather
Hmm.
expect it to go down by 5-10%, if not more, right? So
Hmm.
because 2021 was at the peak, and then things
True.
have
It
gone
was an
down.
exceptional year.
Yeah, then things have
Very
gone
true.
south. And I cannot tell exactly what the salaries are, but usually you would expect from a decent product based company your starting salary to be somewhere around 5.5 to 10 lakhs. Again, 10 lakhs is
Hmm.
on extremely high side of things. Current market mein, I would not expect 10 lakh. If you're getting 10 lakh, then do a good survey around, okay, why
Hmm.
are they able to afford 10 lakhs for you, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Hmm.
that's
Hmm. Hmm.
one thing. And then as time progresses, when you become L2, right,
Hmm.
you basically start earning between, let's say, 10 lakh to uh, 20 lakh maybe, right? And then,
Hmm.
or maybe a little more than that also. And then L3,
I would assume a little more than that right now, like looking at my colleagues as well.
yeah, could be.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
again, at this moment, if you're switching, I don't know where the band has shifted. Pretty sure it has shifted
Shifted. Yeah. True.
down. So that's one thing. Again, I'm talking about
Hmm.
general product based companies. uh,
Yeah.
the thing is, at one point of time we had a lot of money flowing in to these product based companies. That's why they could pay to scale uh,
Discuss. Yeah.
at maximum speed, right? But at this point what I've heard is a lot of companies just want to float and not swim, right? So
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
survive. So if they're in the survival mode, they would want to, put the cash first and talent second,
Hmm.
right? So
Second. True.
so right now cannot predict what the market is. Only another survey can give you. But definitely, when we did those surveys in 2021 and 22, those numbers are
Hmm.
true. Most people
Hmm.
get
Hmm.
that initial 5.5 to 10 lakh package, and 10 to maybe 24 package, and then probably 24 to 35, and then I think we
When is that 24 to 30? At what years of experience would you say that is?
24-30. I think around 4 to 7 years of experience is
7 years.
where it is. However, again,
Hmm.
experience has to be, not all experience are of similar value, right?
Similar.
So
True. True.
it depends. If you have been in a service based company and then probably went to a design studio and then probably came to uh, you know product based
Product.
company, it might be
Hmm.
slightly difficult for you to do that negotiation in the beginning.
Hmm. Hmm.
uh,
True. True. True.
but
I think experience and negotiation is what like drives that number a lot.
yeah, it's actually, it's not
Hmm.
alone negotiation right now. See, at one point of
Hmm.
time the demand was high and then candidates were probably not that much, right? But in
Hmm.
today's market, you go onto LinkedIn and see how many openings are there right now,
Yeah.
right? For whatever
Especially
position.
at the entry level.
At entry level, it has dried
Yeah.
up like crazy. So uh,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
the negotiation game is stronger for the company than you. So you
Yeah.
cannot be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
I want 12 lakh rupees as a
Hmm.
beginner.
Hmm.
Maybe at one point of
Hmm.
time at 2021 you might have asked, and people would have still preferred giving you a 12 or a
Agreed.
15. But in today's
Yeah.
market there is always somebody who can do the same work for cheaper price, right?
Cheaper price.
And
Yeah.
because
Hmm. Hmm.
basically a lot of people are hungry enough to just get into the industry and start learning, start consuming, start building,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
hence the market is in this way. Pretty sure it will bounce back
Hmm.
after a point of time, but yeah, right now there is no money in the market, so hence the
Hmm.
reason.
Hmm. Got it. And I have a question. Okay, so we spoke. Okay, do you want to speak about like let's say you spoke about 4 to 7 years. Like after 7 to let's say 10 years, is there a range that you are
Now
aware
I
of?
don't think we have good enough data. We have done the survey, but
Data,
I feel we don't have good enough data to
enough
really,
data.
say that whatever we concluded in our survey is uh,
Hmm.
very concrete. Again, first of all, it
Concrete,
has changed based on market. Yeah.
drastically.
And
Yeah.
if you uh, take on those whatever number of people we surveyed in that bracket uh,
Hmm.
as good enough number to hit your baseline, then that is fine. However,
Hmm.
I would personally not look beyond the initial few ranges that I talked about it. The
Hmm.
till 7 years, I
Hmm.
feel we are slightly more confident there that this is what the industry is paying. Beyond that,
Hmm.
probably a HR would be able to tell what the bands are looking like in industry.
Got it, got it. But this is something I actually think about a lot, okay? Because whenever I think about like product designers and like design in general, like a lot of, especially in the product or tech startups, you know about people who have like 10 to 15 experience who are like at the top level maybe. But after that, it becomes very like hard to know about what people actually do. Like you have like a path until like let's say 10 years in a tech startup. But after that, it becomes very, very abstract. Like,
Yeah,
so what's like a long term game that you think you're after in like let's say 20 25 years down the line? Obviously it's with AI and everything else, it's very hard to predict what the future is
yeah,
going to be. But like I always feel like everybody asks this question that what's a 5 year plan, 10 year plan, 20 year plan. It kind of makes sense to have it. So do you have a plan like what you need, what you want to be like 20 years down the line?
yeah. I mean, 20 years down the line, no, I don't have a plan. It's too wild of a guess. It makes no sense to have a 20-year plan. It makes no
20
sense
year
to have
plan.
a 10-year plan
Hmm.
as well, right?
Hmm.
However, 5 year may I would want to be a great mentor figure in the company wherein I have the leverage to not just design product but design people, design designers, right? So
Oh.
so that's where I want to be, and I think that's a natural progression wherein I have also
Hmm.
been designed by influence of so many designers in the industry,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
I would, in when I become a manager or a mentor figure or a lead, whatever, I would
Hmm.
also like to nail that role well, which is how do I help other people build products? I can build
Hmm.
product
Hmm.
that I think I have proved in the first seven
Hmm.
years,
Hmm.
5 years of my life. Now
Hmm.
the next skill set is how can I help other people build products, right? And
Hmm. Hmm.
then probably at a later stage it would be about how do I help other people build products,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So I guess
Network effect of sorts.
yeah, so it's more like the
Hmm.
hierarchy how do you then
Hmm.
create
Hmm.
design mentors, right? Right now I'm creating designers. Next step would be how do I create design mentors who would create designers.
It's like how in football, like you have Pep Guardiola. He has his own students who played for him, and then now they are managers for like other
Yeah,
teams. So
yeah,
you're trying to build a
yeah,
dynasty of sorts.
yeah. So I guess it's a natural progression as well. That's how our
Hmm.
knowledge gets transferred over time. So
Got it. Got it.
yeah,
Nice. But there's something else I want to ask you. Right? So in one of your videos, I remember you spoke about art. Okay, and this is something I think about a lot as a US listener. You told um, art is a function, and its function is to evoke emotions,
yeah,
and that can be like anything from the thrill of victory to the rush of adventure
yeah,
to like heartbreaks or failures or something.
yeah,
And art is like this everything, everywhere, and sometimes all at
yeah,
once.
yeah,
Okay, it's like the flavor in the water or like a masala in Maggi.
yeah, yeah,
Like being UX designers, there's so much debate of this form versus function. Even yesterday, I put out a LinkedIn post about this, and like it kind of blew up. Some people taking that it doesn't matter. Some people telling that UX matters. Some people telling UI matters.
yeah,
But like, how do you see this? Like, what's your opinion on this?
yeah. Now I inherently feel that uh, everything has a artistic side to it, right? Even if I put take up the most boring design system in the world, if I take up, let's say, material design or something, and I build an app, it still has a particular aesthetics to it, right? So it is a
Aesthetic,
bit
right? Yeah,
artistic in that way. Similarly, any
it's in own
in
sense.
in its own sense, it is
Sense,
minimalistic,
yeah.
might appeal to a few
Hmm,
people and so on, right? And
hmm,
then when
hmm,
I take in any art, right, it could
hmm,
be
hmm,
a poster, or it could be a
hmm,
graffiti on the wall, right? The function of
hmm,
that is to make your city look nice, right? uh,
hmm, hmm, hmm,
it
hmm,
the
hmm.
function of it is people will go there and click a picture, right? So There
I
is
mean, I don't think the police will think along the same lines, but yeah, it
no,
makes
I mean,
sense.
not the not that kind of graffiti, but I'm saying about this. But that is also your expression and whatever, right?
Hmm,
I mean,
hmm,
not
hmm.
get into the legality of things, but there is a bit of your self-expression that is there in form
Expression.
of
True.
your art, right? So I feel there
Hmm,
is a usefulness of art, and that is the reason why
hmm,
it still survives. I don't think there is
hmm,
anything
hmm,
out there which is not useful and has survived the test of time, right?
hmm, hmm,
So I
hmm.
feel
True.
entertainment is a use case of art, right? So in
Entertainment is a use case of art. Hmm, hmm,
right
hmm, hmm,
and
hmm.
when you get into uh, UX design and art, right? I feel whatever illustration or a good copy that we write, it just breaks that monotonous nature of the UI. It just breaks that design
UI.
system a little bit, and that just creates a bit of interest in a user flow, right? Or maybe it could be a
Hmm,
payoff,
true.
right? Or it could be a
Payoff. Yeah.
punchline,
Hmm.
whatever.
Punchline.
It
Hmm,
could be a delight, and the delight is useful. It's not like it is not useful. The problem is how do you define, or uh, how do you defend the art rather,
hmm,
right? Because
hmm,
defending everything else is easy. Okay, the button needs to be slightly having a shadow because it needs to feel clickable, and you give that justification for all of that. But when it comes to
hmm,
illustration, or when it comes to using a extremely huge space to show something, uh,
hmm,
or slightly invest more time into doing something that can be done in a less effort manner as well, is when you have to first build that culture wherein people are accepting of you know uh, a good looking app first of all right?
hmm,
So
hmm.
that aesthetic usability is a term that is actually there, which is people prefer good looking things over
Things which are
bad looking things. Again,
true.
good and bad can be subjective, but then you know your user to tell that whether it's good looking to them or not, right? So there is definitely that use case for it. The problem is not a lot of people are able to defend their decision. They just become angry when somebody opposes it. Somebody says that, hey, we don't
Hmm,
need whatever that bullshit illustration animation that you're doing. But
hmm,
it's the defense that you are lacking, which is why that is not getting through into the product,
hmm,
right?
hmm,
So it is obviously, it's not like one person defending. It has to come from the culture that the design manager sets in the company, or whoever is controlling the
hmm,
culture sets in the company,
hmm,
wherein they start talking about, okay, okay, this is important for us. What we are doing, whatever we are calling as art, or wherever you think we are over investing in aesthetics, is actually important because of so and so reason, right? So
hmm, hmm,
uh, I feel that is something that is lacking in the industry right now, which is a strong use case has not been developed in most of the companies, wherein people would be allowed to do the delights, where people would be allowed to spend a little more time to refine things and so on, right? So
hmm, hmm. I
hence,
think you give an example of this as well. Like, let's say if you have like a success state or something, like let everything else be like functional and it's fine. But if this is like the main stage, it's like that peak end rule also, right? Like here, like making it like heavily visual driven or like delightful makes sense because this is something people will actually appreciate as well,
yeah,
which like made total sense. But I've also heard about that social commentary you gave on that, like that viral tweet thread that blew up, right? Like about that. Minimalism is bad or something.
yeah,
Which one point you told me that, which I mean, two there were multiple points. I'll link the video down below. But the thing that stood out to me, one you told was like one, everything is about the status thing. The second, it's about like back in the day when everything used to be so like artistic and like so different. It was like the rich who could afford that.
yeah,
And here also I see like the only apps which can actually afford to be very visually driven and stuff, it tends to be the stuff which is not running after revenue and stuff, right? So um, what I'm trying to understand from you is like uh, how when do you like prioritize, at what stages would you want to prioritize this, because right now especially in this bear market everybody is running after like
yeah,
survival mode. So how much how like to what level does this um, art needs to be there in like the stuff that we
yeah,
we build, because we by name are designers, so there's something thing that we need to make it look nice, right? So
Yeah,
how do you see it?
yeah. So one thing is everybody is always in that bear market mode is what I feel, which is they feel that they need to survive, they need to thrive,
Hmm,
and they need to run fast and so on. It's like it's
hmm,
always right. It's not that
hmm,
today we are feeling it in this way wherein function needs to come first, right, and then
hmm,
form needs to come second. It has always been the case,
hmm,
whether it whatever market, our mindset of building product has always been like that, right? For example,
hmm, hmm,
Apple iPhone costs whatever 1.5 lakhs or 1.2 lakhs, whatever, right?
hmm,
Do you think
hmm.
they cannot afford to do some engraving at the back? They're taking 1 lakh
They
rupees.
can.
They can, right? I'm not saying you are selling a super cheap uh, 2000 rupees phone, so you will have to, compact everything up. The thing is, a
Hmm,
lot of cultures can afford to take that artistic lens, but they don't,
hmm.
because there is a very good excuse to become functional. Again, Apple has its own branding in minimalism, so
Branding.
that's
Yeah.
fine, that's fine, they have a brand in it. But some people who do not have a brand at all, they
Hmm,
don't think of aesthetics as much as they should. So I feel, of course, there are companies who cannot think of aesthetics, or for them aesthetics don't bring in that much value. But especially when you have a
hmm,
consumer, you are building consumer grade apps, is when you should think about it. Because in your B2B business, probably the decision maker is not going to use your app, right? The decision maker is going to look at the
hmm.
functionality and then make a purchase,
Functionality.
and then
Hmm,
ask his or her employee to use them. So the
hmm,
decision maker
hmm,
is not the user there. However, in user grade products, the decision maker is the user. So
hmm, hmm.
why not put in a bit of effort to exploring art side of things? And that is,
Outside of things.
and it's not as expensive as people think it is, right? So we are not,
True, true,
we
true.
don't have materials, right? So we are not
Hmm,
wasting
hmm.
materials, it's just pixels. So it takes a little bit time.
Pixels.
You have to
Time.
you have to just build in that culture within a company to appreciate art.
Appreciate. But if what you, I think you once told also that if they're just like normal movies and like let's say even a CCTV is like a basically a movie in itself, you need movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once that breaks barrier and shows like this is the possibility with art. I think you kind of need that with like UX as well, because otherwise it becomes just saturated and everything looks the
Yeah,
same.
yeah, definitely.
So I think when you told that, that was like brilliant. Like art is something we should also like go after. But other than that, there was actually that's pretty much it that I kind of wanted to speak to you. But there's this one video I saw of yours where you spoke about typography, and I honestly think that was one of the best typography videos I've actually learned from. It's an hour and a half long, but I'll link it down in the description as well. If anybody wants to see that video, that was really really good. I really like the way you take complex things and break it down into like this simple things to understand. One of the things that we spoke about was this is not design related, is the tax thing. Like, how did you even think of that? Like, I mean, so many of my friends tell me that, I should have learned tax in school and all that stuff. But then you told that if you think you would be able to learn tax in school, you think you can't learn it now. One second, what like I definitely don't remember what I learned in engineering, so I definitely wouldn't have learned remember tax if I learned in like in my school days. How did you even think about that? Like, how do you break down such complex things in such like simple things?
Yeah. So one thing that I usually think of doing is, and this is more of a thought exercise. It need not be posted as well. Sometimes it's just for
Hmm.
fun that whatever is popular, right? I would think of an anti-popular opinion about it and see whether that's
you
that.
you have this anti herd mentality, like going against the
Yeah,
mentality kind of
yeah.
thing.
So whatever is popular, I would see. Okay, this makes sense. Whatever is popular makes sense. But if I twist it, does it still make sense? Right?
Hmm.
Then
Hmm.
there is no point of debate, right? If I twist it and it also makes sense, then I think everybody should shut up, right? Because whatever you are saying that makes sense, whatever I twist and say that also makes sense, then there is no point of this debate, and there is no
Point.
point of
Hmm.
wasting time on it, right? So when
Hmm. Hmm.
this thing came up, ki we should be taught taxes, my initial thought was yes, definitely we should be taught taxes.
Same,
Yeah, right.
same.
And then I was like, okay, wait a minute, what if like what if I take the other side of things, right? Ki,
Hmm.
if taxes were to be taught in school, then if it was so easy, then why can't you learn it right now? And whatever you learned in school, are you being able to apply it right now? Like, can you solve
Hmm. Hmm.
sine square plus cos square theta minus x square theta by 2ab? Right?
I I honestly don't even remember differentiation integration that I spent like hours in the night learning.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So,
makes total sense.
so, like, if you think about it, it's just easy to say that in our system this should be done, but then it
Hmm.
must be complex. That's why it is not there right now, right? For example,
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
is not contextual also. Like, I may or may not give 97% of the class is not going to pay tax. So so why the hell will I study tax in school, where I could
Hmm.
have taught something? See, the idea is you don't burden student with just whatever needs to be taught, right? Okay, I understand you need to learn maybe self defense, you need to learn about
Hmm.
sex education, you need to learn about mental health, and a lot of those things are very important, I understand. uh, Correct use of social media,
Hmm.
security, digital security, internet security, whatever, right? Cyber security, you learn all of that, I understand that. But tax is a very nuanced thing, right? Which is,
Hmm.
if today we are not able to understand, then forget class 10 student understanding it. Now you might say, okay, what about just giving little bit of understanding of tax, right? So then
Hmm. Hmm.
my argument would be, then how far would it take you, right? You would be
Hmm.
told that this is the tax brackets, for first 5 lakh this is the tax, next 5 lakh this is the tax, and so on. By the time he
Hmm.
grows up, that bracket is gone, new regime has come in, right?
Gone.
So then if something is that fragile and is changing, probably don't teach that, right? So that's
Hmm.
one more thing. Again, another thing is, where would you teach maths, sorry, tax? Is it in maths?
No,
Because
but what you told is true because people don't even learn math properly. If they learn math enough, I think that will help them a lot in taxes as well.
yeah,
So that at least they should do.
but that's also another thing. Ki, maths is not a very subjective subject, right? It's very
Yeah.
uh, objective science, it's hard science, right? It's the
Yeah.
only truth
Hmm.
in the universe.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
uh, where would you teach tax? It is definitely not in maths. It's not a math subject.
Hmm.
If you have
Hmm. Hmm.
economics, yeah, great, somewhere there maybe.
Hmm.
But I feel there is that you have to think it through, basically
Hmm.
think it through from different lenses, right? So
Hmm.
at NIT we had something called a systems design, wherein you become a policy maker, you take a policy maker's point of view and design, right? So you think of the entire
Hmm. Hmm.
system, and when you do one intervention, how does that impact everything else, right? So
Hmm.
that was
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
very nice subject to learn at that point of time, and that helps basically think through things. All those second order thinking is trained there,
Hmm.
and you don't need to be a designer to do second order thinking and systems thinking and so on. You can do all these debates with yourself as well. Okay, okay, tax. Okay, then what is the negative impact of implementing tax in
Hmm.
school? And then
Hmm.
you start from there, you create a case study. You basically argue with yourself, and then you would reach a point wherein you would be like, okay, there was no point of arguing other than just exercising your brain.
Basically, don't scroll Instagram for a while. Think for yourself, argue against yourself, and then you'll get like these original ideas.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Cool. But is there anything else that you want to speak about, like that you want to tell to the? I wouldn't say the design community, but like the broader creative community here.
No, I mean, I think we had a great discussion. ऐसा कुछ बोलने के लिए तो I don't have, but
Hmm.
all I can say is, recently I have been mentoring a bunch of people, and what I've understood is everybody is finding it difficult to get a job. So just wanted to put it out there that the market is bad. It's not you.
Is bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not just
Oh,
you.
you had a brilliant. No, no, you also had a brilliant post about this. You told how it is tougher to get into UX right now than the JE to clear JE or something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. I corrected myself after a point of time, because I understood that the barrier to becoming a good aspirant, right,
Hmm.
versus the barrier to
Hmm.
becoming or calling yourself a UX designer is very different. To become
Hmm.
a valid aspirant of JE, I'm not saying anybody who gives JE is an aspirant, right? There are people who
Yeah, yeah,
really
yeah.
work their ass off. To become an aspirant is very tough. So
Very tough.
that's
But that post was gonna get heat from like different
yeah,
people.
yeah,
I mean, obviously, like people have put in their years of life into that
yeah, yeah,
clearing that examination.
definitely.
But that was actually in a way that kind of conveyed the point. It's just that people
Yeah.
will get
No,
offended
actually,
and they'll
what I
hate.
did again from content point of view was I posted a version in LinkedIn. I posted a version in Threads. I posted a
Hmm.
version in my Instagram, right? And all of them
Hmm.
had very
Hmm. Hmm.
difficult. All of them were different in versions and had very different reaction to it.
Reactions.
My
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
most hot take was in the LinkedIn one, so it had
LinkedIn.
the yeah, so
Yes.
it had the most hot take in it because I started with that sentence saying uh, IIT JEE is less tough than uh, cracking a UX, whereas in other things
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think I framed it differently. I didn't talk about
Hmm.
JEE, but I just told that there is a, so this is the percentage chance if you're applying to IIT, this is mathematically what is your chance of getting through,
Hmm.
and if you're applying for a UX opening, this is the chance of getting through. So I didn't
Got it.
put a conclusion to it. So that's why I didn't get the hit. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Nice.
that's
But apart from that, is there anything else you wanna tell us?
no, that's all. I mean, I think we have definitely discussed
If
a lot.
people have to reach out to you, if people have to reach out to you, where would you like them to reach out to you?
I think Instagram DM would be the path of least resistance.
But Instagram DM right now, I think there's an issue that I think it's a recent update, if I'm not wrong, where you can only send one text. I
Oh,
think.
is it? Okay.
So I'm not sure like how it works because initially, like you, there's some kind of flow where you have to. Okay, now I'm talking like a designer. Basically, I think if I'm not sure about this, but you can only send one text. You have to accept it, and then only I'll be able to text you once more. And I don't think usually that works because I from my cold messaging experience, you kind of need to text 2 to 3 times, and that's when like people actually reply to you.
Yeah.
I mean, not like annoy them, but like tell them, did you see this or something like that.
Yeah.
So if like apart from Instagram, where would you ideally like to be
I think
contacted with?
LinkedIn is also one place. So if you're sending
Hmm.
a request, connection request, you can type in your query with it as well. The
Hmm.
problem is I may not be able to answer all of that because
Hmm.
see, at one point of time, once you hit a particular scale, it's just difficult to manage
Difficult.
DMs, right?
Exactly.
So that's
Exactly.
one
You have to
thing.
be a little creative with how you reach out to people at that point. Then.
Yeah, definitely. I do have a group called Curiosity. I have a Telegram group. So
Yeah.
if you tag me there, I think that's even lesser resistance for me to answer because flies are in that in that group. Nobody is talking. So if a few people talk in
Hmm.
that group, probably I would answer it that way. So I
Got it.
think I mean
The-
one of the simpler thing to basically talk about in cold messaging is basically look for the path of least resistance, right? And
hmm.
I think for me
Hmm.
Instagram is one, the other one is LinkedIn, and the third one is on Telegram group.
Telegram.
Yeah,
Got it. Got it. I mean, it's up to people to be creative with this. But I had an absolute brilliant time speaking to you. There's a lot. Got to learn a lot of stuff. I am looking forward to maybe a second conversation sometime later down in the line.
yeah,
So thank you for coming on this show and thank you for like taking your time to do this.
sure,
Thank you.
sure. Thank you so much. Had a great time talking to you. Bye bye.